Am I the butthole for telling my brother I wasn't excited about sister-in-law's pregnancy after he had a son who has special needs? My brother Matt and his wife Lucy have 6 sons. Their youngest, John, is 2 and was born with a chromosomal abnormality. It's so rare that the doctors aren't entirely sure how this will affect him in the future. Currently his development is much slower than other kids. Matt and Lucy have been taking him to all sorts of specialists, a speech therapist and a physical therapist. Their insurance covers some, but not all of this, and the out-of-pocket fees can get pretty hefty. From what I know of their finances, they're not struggling, but they also don't have much to spare. 3 months ago Lucy announced they were expecting another kid and made it clear that this wouldn't necessarily be their last. I was immediately concerned but tried to ignore it and be excited and supportive. I congratulated them, was super enthusiastic at their gender reveal. Basically I did my best to hide how I felt, but it didn't work. Matt approached me and my boyfriend at a family gathering to ask what was wrong and why I seemed more thrilled about our sister's puppy than his wife's pregnancy. I tried to play it off like it was nothing and I just had a lot on my plate, but he was insistent. My boyfriend tried to deflect by joking that I had run out of ways to show my excitement the 7th time around, and boy did Matt not like that. I decided to just come clean and tell Matt that I knew I had no right to tell him how many kids he could have, and that I would love my new nephew just as much the rest of my nephews, but I assumed he would stop having kids after John so that they could focus as much time/resources on him as possible. He was upset and said that just because John has special needs doesn't mean other kids will. I explained to him that I was more worried about them having enough money to afford the best possible doctors/therapists for John and enough time and energy to advocate for him and help him. He said they always wanted a big family and John doesn't change that, and they can always get the older kids to look after the younger ones when something with John comes up. I said 6 children already is a big family and it was unfair to expect that of his older kids. He blew up and told me I had no idea what I was talking about because I don't have kids and I probably won't since I overthink so much I would talk myself out of having them even for the smallest of risks, and when you have kids you just make it work. I told him I didn't think assuming he could just make it work was a good idea, and I was sorry but I couldn't force myself to be excited when he hadn't said anything to ease my concerns, and that maybe I was more excited about our sister's new puppy because she triple-checked that she had the finances, time, and appropriate environment before adopting. He grabbed Lucy and stormed off and I haven't heard from them since. I texted an apology because they won't take my calls. Edit. Thank you all so much for weighing in, I really do appreciate it. I've read some comments saying I think John is a burden/unloved, and I was basically telling them to abort. I just wanted to say that is not the case at all. I adore John, he is my godson, and such a smiley, sweet, blessing of a baby, and I'm sure I'll feel the same about my new nephew. My concern is coming from the fact that we have no idea what John's future will look like. Some people with his condition are adults who are living independently, while others require care for the rest of their lives. Just because John has needs that their other kids don't, doesn't make him a burden. Burden implies that we're not happy to give John everything he might need or want, and that couldn't be further from the truth. Not the butthole. Parentification. That is what is in their kids' future to me, and I agree. You shouldn't just make kids work. This is my biggest problem with original poster's story. His brother openly admits he'll use his older kids to watch the younger ones. That makes him TA, not original poster. Parentification should be a crime. Original poster replies. He already does. If John has a doctor's appointment, both him and Lucy want to go, and I get that, but sometimes they just leave the rest of the kids at home and tell them the oldest, who is 13, is in charge. Both my sister and I have offered to babysit multiple times, but if it's even slightly inconvenient for them, they don't take us up on our offers. Like if I say I'll watch the kids as long as you drop them off, they decline because they don't want to make the 18-minute drive. He's leaving a 13-year-old in charge of 4 children under the age of 13? That's a disaster waiting to happen. Like what? Most adults I know wouldn't take it on themselves to watch 4 children under 13. Your brother and sister-in-law are out of their minds and need to get an intervention about birth control like yesterday, or a few years ago, to be honest. I was watching a 6-year-old and a newborn when I was 8. Then an 8-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a newborn when I was 10. And I continued parenting 3 kids for the next 7 years. It's not a good existence. Watching that many kids when you're only a kid yourself is a disaster in hyperdrive. One kid has a dumb idea, and everyone jumps on board. Now you have 4 or 5 or 6 injured kids and no one responsible enough to say no, and no one to redirect the younger ones. I'm so sorry you went through that and weren't allowed to be a kid yourself. Thanks. I definitely had my moments where I was a dumb kid, but I was also able to be a very mature, adult kid when I had to be, in various medical emergencies and such. I was kid number 6 of 12. I see you. The last kid is disabled. My parents at last had the good sense to stop. These are lifelong repercussions which children lack the ability to consent to. And this crap is exactly why my own kids get compensated if they help out with the baby sister. I have 13 meters, 11F and 17-month-old F. They only help out when I'm cleaning or something around the house that the hell spawn shouldn't get into, and they also dote and spoil the crap out of her regardless. They have encouraged the funniest behaviors, but they are allowed to say no, and we always treat them for helping. Food or non-standard drinks are usually requested as payment. They have never changed a single nappy, diaper for my international people, or done a dirty job either. The nasty stuff is up to Dad and I. I think that's actually illegal. I was babysitting up to 3 kids at a time by 12. Leaving a 13-year-old to watch 4 younger siblings is not safe. Have you considered that you may need to alert CPS to ensure the safety of the 5 older children? Original poster replies. I mean, this happened because we didn't know that once the oldest turned 13, if no one would drive to their house, they were okay with him watching his brothers. Now that we know this, we always make sure someone in the family is free to drive to their house and watch the kids when they ask. If they stop asking us to babysit or take to leaving him in charge more, then it will definitely be a discussion between me, my sister, and our parents. I don't know where you live, but where I am, it's actually illegal to leave children under 14 unattended. I'm not saying you should call your local social services or the police, but that's 100% not cool. Not the butthole. You were polite. Multiple times. He kept pushing till he got an answer he didn't want to hear. Totally on him. He wanted you to say you were jealous, by the way. That you wanted his life with the multiple kids. Yep. I think you're right. Oh, yikes, you are so right. Anyway, not the butthole. 7 kids, and they have the knowledge that they can pass on bad genes. So selfish. Literally anyone can be born with bad genes. That's not a point in this discussion at all. John could have expensive/complicated medical needs from an accident or an illness, any number of reasons that aren't genetic. His parents aren't irresponsible for having another child after one with a genetic abnormality. The important thing is that he has greater medical needs than their other kids, and original poster wants to know that her brother has planned for those expenses. I think the commenter was saying that now they know the possibility of having a child, which everyone should get genetic counseling before having kids, but I digress. With the condition is heightened for them, it's irresponsible to try for another and potentially bring another child into this world who will suffer. Not the butthole, it's a uterus, not a clown car. I think by now it's a slip and slide. Kids slip in and slide out all the time. Original poster replies. I'm going to hell for laughing at this. Budge up a bit please, looks like I'm coming with you, smiley face. Oh, are we all taking the Lil Nas Express? My boyfriend tried to deflect by joking that I had run out of ways to show my excitement the 7th time around, and boy did Matt not like that. OML. This is great. Honestly. In my opinion, your boyfriend was a genius. No offense to anyone that has multiple children, but once it hits number 5, theirs isn't really much of a surprise anymore. And pretty much what I'm hearing from your brother is, while my wife and I F as much as we want and experience the joys of a newborn, the oldest kids will be taking care of the rest, so we can just enjoy the babies. Nope. That is not how parenting works. But I could be wrong. And honestly, I don't have kids either. But I think it's worth saying you don't always have to do something to understand it. Not at all. I think people who don't have kids understand beating a kid is wrong. You don't have to beat a kid to know that. If they don't have the resources to safely take care of their kids and have money in case of an emergency, then they are definitely the Oz. Not the butthole. Original poster. Your concerns are warranted. And anyone that says otherwise are also Oz. Original poster replies. Haha, yeah, I appreciated that. My sister actually texted him after congratulating him for having the guts to say what everyone was thinking. See? Even other people realize how impractical it is to have that many children. I mean, seriously. We do not need to repopulation the earth. Take it easy. But how else will they become insta-famous without their 9 kids with matching outfits and names? Little Braden, Creighton, Layden, Graydon, Traden and Little John John. The perfect family. Whenever anyone says you don't have kids so you don't know what you're talking about, it reminds me of this. YouTube link. One of my favorite responses to people saying you can't have an opinion on kids if you have none is I don't have to be a helicopter pilot to know someone effed up should I find one in a tree. Not the butthole. When someone is on their 7th kid I can understand why you wouldn't be excited for them because it will never be as exciting as when a couple have their first kid and are starting a new family. So I think it was wrong for your brother to call you out for not being excited, and he pushed you to answer, so there is nothing wrong with being honest. I have seen families who have too many kids and struggle financially with them and it's not fair, so I don't think you're wrong to question it if you think it may be an issue because having a child is a big decision to make. Not the butthole. They're planning possible parentification and your concerns are very valid. Yours is a place of concern. There is no question John will need extra care, at the expense unfortunately of everyone and everything. Are they just trying for a girl or something? Once they knew this was another boy, is that when the talk of this probably isn't our last started? Original poster replies. They didn't know the gender before they had that conversation with us. I'm sure they would love a girl but I think they just want more kids either way. It might not even be gendered related. My brother and his wife practice natural family planning. They don't believe in contraceptives. If they don't want to conceive then they only have sex when she is unlikely to get pregnant. If they get pregnant anyway then they consider that to be an unexpected gift. They have 5 boys and people always assume that they were trying for a girl, but they were just trying for kids. Even when they were pregnant with their twins they would tell people that these 2 weren't necessarily their last. Spoiler alert, the twins were their last. I am not religious but my brother is a pastor, my sister-in-law homeschools, and this is relatively common in their circle. My brother recently posted a photo on social media hanging out with his boys and 2 pastor friends of his. Between the 3 families there were 18 kids. Religious people are crazy and need to be stopped. Not the butthole. He pushed and got an honest answer that he didn't like. But you're absolutely right. They have to devote a lot of resources on their 1 child, and then what about the other 5 children? I guess they take the backseat to every new baby they pop out. And there's no way their house has 7 bedrooms, so privacy is surely just not a thing in that household. Original poster replies. No, they live in a 3-bedroom house, which is why I'm concerned about their finances. Sorry, it's just that I wanted to add this to the post, but I was running out of characters, so I'm grateful that you brought it up. I'm sorry, what? They are going to have 9 people in a 3BR. Original poster replies. The 3 older boys share a room and the 3 younger boys share a room, and they're planning to keep the baby in their room for a year and then move to a bigger place. What are they, Mormons? Do they not care about their children's well-being? Cramming that many kids into such a small space? Why on earth would anyone be excited to add another mouth to feed in an already overcrowded home? That can't be good for the kids. What goal are they trying to reach? Is the wife not concerned about her own physical and mental well-being as well? I have many questions. Not the butthole. Sound like their family has some issues expecting older children to raise the younger ones down the line, especially knowing one may need special attention as they age. 6 kids is a lot and you have no obligation to agree with him. Lacking excitement sounds about right. Do anything 6/7 times it's going to get old. You don't have to agree with their lifestyle choice, and you're more than caring enough saying you're going to love your niece/nephew regardless. Not the butthole. I was ready to call you the butthole when I read your title, but you're right when your brother and your sister-in-law need to look over their finances to make sure they can afford that child. There is nothing wrong with having another just because of their sons has special needs, but if they're already struggling and are adding another child into the mix, it's only going to get worse. Your brother also shouldn't assume the older ones will be free babysitters because they will start to resent their siblings and parents. Also, it was unkind what he said to you about not having kids. It seems like you were just looking out for your brother and his family, and he took it over the notch. Not the butthole. I'm not sure why your brother thinks it's okay to demand you perform a certain level of excitement for him. You did your best to be happy for them, and that should have been enough for him. He pushed you relentlessly, even after you gave him a reasonable excuse for not being more animated for him. You could have just refused to answer, or turned it around on him and asked why he was badgering you, but I'm sure you felt a little caught off guard. Then he got mad at your boyfriend's joke, which was another point when he could have just let it go instead. It seems like he was already set on having a problem with you no matter what you said. But he shouldn't have insisted on an explanation from you and then got mad when it wasn't what he wanted to hear. You are entitled to your own thoughts about the situation, and you clearly had no intention of saying anything to him until he harangued you about it. That's on him. Original poster replies. Honestly, I think it's because no one in our family was that enthused. We were all over the moon for their first 3 and the excitement has been steadily declining ever since. I'm the one in our family who typically goes above and beyond when it comes to celebrating achievements or milestones, so maybe when Matt saw me go from doing the most to doing only as much as others did, it really struck a nerve? I don't know, maybe I'm just trying to make sense of it. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to be the first to know about Red Rabbit Reader's new videos. If you like our videos, please like them on YouTube and share them with your friends. We welcome your comments below. Press to start another of our videos.